Hello, welcome to ECO-595. In this video, I'm going to go over this Excel exercise with you. The document is already posted on eCollege under the current week folder. You can download the file and use the file to go along with this video. So what we're going to do in this exercise is that we're going to practice several important Excel skills that was covered in Excel 1 and Excel 2, the two documents that I've already posted on eCollege. Now first, you're going to need to download the data file to your folder, to your local folder. If you haven't done so, pause the video and go to eCollege.sharing, download the files, then continue with the video. All right, so I'm going to keep going on, assuming that you have both files. One is called sample data, the other is called rent. You have both data downloaded in your local file. All right, so let me head over to the Excel file, and we're gonna stay there for the rest of the video so that you can see what we're gonna do and how we perform the analysis or the changes. Then again, keep this, what you see here, this file open so that you can look at it whenever you need it. Whole data file, and let's glance through the data first to get a general idea. So what we have here is a data set of a national physical therapy provider. And I got this data from my colleague. As you can see, Dr. Greg Lubiani was nice enough to share with me his file and data. In the first column, we see state. So the data is organized by state, and within each state, we have numbers denoting different clinic, and then we have total hours. With total hours, there are clinical hours, non-clinical hours, support staff hours. And lastly, there's this PPE, which stands for pay period ending. And if you're familiar with the health provider or health insurance system, you are better than me about such numbers. So PPE is basically pay per period ending. That's when the clinic report their hours, salary, etc., everything. So that's why we also organize the data according to the pay period ending. And then this is the first spreadsheet. If you click on the next one is visits and charges, and you would notice that within this spreadsheet, there's also state, clinic, PPE. So you see this is consistent from the first spreadsheet to the second spreadsheet. The difference is that in this spreadsheet, we have gross charges, number of visits, and number of units. And lastly, we have one last spreadsheet, which is labor expenses, still organized by state, clinic, and PPE. And this time we have different expenses. So in this data file, we have three spreadsheets. So always when you use Excel, make sure you export different spreadsheets, because sometimes you may look at the first one and say, oh, that's all I have. But actually, there are more information in other spreadsheets. Now, the first thing we want to do is we're going to use some Excel functions to do certain calculations. We're going to go to the last spreadsheet, which is labor expenses. Let's do this. Let's calculate the total expense by adding PT, PTA, admin all together. And let's name that total expenses. There are two ways you can add up these three columns. You can do equal. So if you want to call Excel function, you always need to enter equal. That Excel will recognize, oh, now you are entering a function. And you could say equal, click on the first one you want to add, and then type plus, click on the next one, type plus, click on the last one, hit enter, you got the total. That's one way to do it. What I like though is typically I use equal sum, then open parenthesis, and you highlight all three together, close parenthesis, that will give you total as well. There's also this nice feature of Excel. You can see up there, this is auto sum. So Excel automatically will try to determine what numbers you want to add up. If you are clicking on the cell, on the top, you have numbers on the left, then Excel will automatically assume that you are adding the numbers to the left of the cell. So as you can see here, Excel automatically guessed or correctly guessed that you want to add these three expenses together. And the reason being the value beside the three numbers, this PP is a date. So Excel will assume that you don't want to add date to your numbers, and which actually is not doable. You can't add date to numbers. So you hit enter, you got the total again. The next thing is we want to apply the same formula to the rest of the cells in this column. So several ways you can do it. You can do click on that cell, and if you move your cursor to the left side, you see this little dot here. If you cover that, you will notice that the cursor turns into a solid plus. Then left click your mouse and drag all the way down to the left cell. That will apply the same formula for the rest of the cells automatically, and you got the total expense automatically. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it, you can copy the formula. So you do Control C, or you can right click and select copy, and then highlight all the cells that you want to apply, or you want to paste the formula. Then do Control V or right click and say paste. Then you got the formulas copied down to all cells highlighted. That's the second way to do it. Last way to do it is to go back again to this little dot at the bottom here. Once your cursor turns into a solid plus, double click it, and then the formula will be applied to the rest of the cell automatically. But as you can see, read from the document, you do want to be careful with this method, because if there's any empty cell in between, Excel will stop there. Fortunately, we don't have any empty cell, so we got to apply the formulas all throughout to the end. All right, so that's three ways to do it. It's up. So now we have the total expense calculated using the formula. Sometimes it's good to retain the formula because you may want to know how this was calculated originally. But sometimes it's not a good idea to retain the formula. Actually, it's better to retain the final result. In particular, if I accidentally or did it on purpose, delete this column there, this total will change. Now, if I don't want that number to be changed, or if I somehow copy or cut this column to somewhere else, the formula may not be valid anymore. So for various reasons, there are situations where we want to get rid of the formula but keep the final result. For that purpose, what we do is we want to do paste special. So what we do is we go to G here, as you can see, click on G, the whole column will be highlighted or selected, and right click on it, select copy, and then still right click on this column here, select paste values, right? So you're gonna see this little icon there with 1 through 3. That means you only paste the actual number, not the formulas. So once I click on it, you probably don't notice any difference. Nothing has changed. However, if you click on a specific cell, you don't see the formula anymore. That means this cell is just a number. It's not the formula. A lot of times, this is better so that we actually, whenever we quote the cell, we quote the actual number, not the formula represented in that cell. So the next thing we want to do is we want to bring some external data. There are times that we have data from various sources, and they are in different formats, in different files, and we want to combine them together. The one we want to add to our current data file is called rent. is a text file. It's not an Excel file. So our task now is to add that text file to our Excel file. So what we're going to do is we first need to add a spreadsheet, a blank spreadsheet. So you go to the bottom, for site labor expenses, you see this plus sign here. That means you add one more spreadsheet. So you click it, you got a blank one. We want to rename it. It's automatically named sheet 1, but we want to rename it as rent. So double click on it and type rent. There we go. Hit enter. That's the new spreadsheet we reserved for rent. The next thing we want to do is we want to bring the text file in it. So go on top of the screen and you see data. And then we go to get external data. So it's here, get external data. And we want it from text, because the file we are using is text file. And then of course you're gonna click your locate your text file. Mine is right here. All right, so we see rent.txt. That's the text file I want to bring into Excel. Click on it. Click import. Excel will not import it automatically because it's in a different format, but give you several options as to how you want to import it. For text file, what we have is the options. You could do delimited, meaning that cell or each column is separated using a specific character. Or you can do fixed width. If your text file has the same width for each column, you can do that. Apparently that doesn't apply to our situation here. So we do want to do delimited using specific character to separate it. So hit next. We go to the next step. The nice thing about Excel is it will automatically detect the character that separate the columns. If it can successfully get it, for our example is tab, it will just split the columns automatically for you. So that is nice. We are done. If not, if you have any other file that is delimited by some other characters, for example, I have used semicolon, comma, and see all of them so forth. So if that's the case, you want to change it to semicolon, comma, etc. But for our case, this is sufficient. You could do next, but usually we don't need it. You do finish automatically. And we do want to import this file to the current spreadsheet. So click on OK. We got the file imported into our Excel spreadsheet. So the next step for us is, notice we have 4 spreadsheets, all classified or organized using state, clinic, PPE. We want to bring rent, expenses, visits and charges, and hours all together into one big spreadsheet so we can analyze the data all together. We're going to rely on 2 Excel functions to perform the task. One is called concatenate, and the other one is VLOOKUP. Let's do the concatenate first. So basically what we're doing here is we want to connect state, clinic, and PPE all together into one identifier for each spreadsheet. And then the next step is, according to the identifier, we're going to combine our merged data together. So what we do is we have to put this new data into a new column to the left. That means we need to add a new column to left of state. What you could do is you click on the state column, click on A, so state column is highlighted, and right click on it, and you want to do insert. Then we got a new blank column added to the left of state, right? And we're going to use this one to do the concatenate function. We go to A1 and we hit enter. That tells Excel that we are bringing up a function. And Excel will provide several possible options when you enter COM. The one we need is the first one. So double click on it and Excel will bring that function for you automatically. And then Excel asks you, So what text do you need for it? What we need is from B1. So you want to tap it because at least for this situation, we can't really click on B1. So you want to do B1, comma, and then you also want to add a special character between different columns between state and client, clinic, and PPE. So this is what one can learn from experience. By doing this in the future, if you ever want to restore column A back into 3 columns, this add character will be very useful. So we're going to do that right now. Comma, and then C1, that's the next one we want to add. Comma, and we want to add the character again, and then comma D1, close parenthesis. That tells Excel we want to combine these 3 columns together, and we use add character to separate them. So hit enter. You can double click on the left end of column A, then it will adjust the width automatically to show you the whole content. As you can see here in cell A1, we see state, add clinic, add total hours. So basically, Excel combined the 3 columns, adding the special character in between. All right. And if we drag down or you double click on this here, let's try that. Oh, my bad. I'm supposed not B1. So I guess it's a good thing that I made a mistake just to show you. You can definitely make mistakes manipulating Excel data. The key is you know how to fix it and you can recognize what happened. So what I did was I combined state, clinic, total hours when I key in D1 because D1 is total hours. But actually I want to do PPE. So I need to fix that. Really easy. Instead of say D1, I want to do H1. So there we go. And then I need to apply the formula again because it's changed, right? Now notice that we can recognize AL, that's Alabama, and 1 is Clinic 1. But then when we add PPE, we don't see the date anymore. We'll see a number, all right? We see different numbers, 39,557. That's kind of a special way for Excel and many other computer software to record date. We have so many different formats to record a date. You can do month, day, year, 2-digit for day, 2-digit for month, 4-digit for year, and all of other specifications. So to make all different days kind of standardized, Excel will record the date as number of days counting from a very early date. And I believe that's 1900. Excel will count how many days has passed starting from, let's say, 1900 January the 1st until the date you want to record. So that's why we see numbers. Nothing to worry about. This is totally fine. We need to do this for the rest of the 3 spreadsheets. So let me do that quickly without explanation. It's basically the same performance, save operation. So the more you practice, the more the better you are at doing this stuff here. It's just some routine. At the beginning, it may look kind of complicated, but by the end, it's just, oops, I need one more, G1. I hit enter accidentally, all right, G1. Eventually, it really reduces to some routine work. And there is a good example. So when I accidentally hit enter, I put G here, G there, right? And then if you use the same trick, double click this little dot here, it will only fill in the next row. But actually you want it to be filled for the rest. So you don't want to fill in anything below it, then this time you double click it, you have it automatically filled in. All right, so labor expense, click on insert and I hit enter. And honestly, I sometimes have a hard time trying to remember how to spell this word. So I like it that Excel will burn it for me automatically. C1. And then lastly, so this time it is not H1, this time it's D1. All right. And then I want to apply it to the rest of the rows. Go back to home. And for rand as well, insert. This is equal to that. And we're going to do B1 at C1 at D1. And then double click to make it bigger, apply to the whole spreadsheet. And now one reason I do this, I drag it down myself instead of double click is it's probably my own personal preference. When I drag it down, I can at least glance through the results to kind of make sure everything looks fine. When I double click it, I will only look at the first page of the screen. Although I know the rest should be automatically filled in. The next step we're going to do, now we're done with combining the 3 columns to create our identifier. The next thing is we do need to name the data. We need to name each of the spreadsheet so Excel knows where to look for our data when it's trying to merge all 4 spreadsheets together. So the easiest way to name our data is to type the name to here directly. So what you do is you highlight the whole spreadsheet, and let's do this hours. All right. And then let's do the next one, highlight the whole spreadsheet, and we're gonna do it as visits. I'll just leave it that way. And then the next one, we're gonna do labor, or actually I'm going to do expenses. And lastly, we're going to do it as rent. All right. So now Excel knows what spreadsheet we're referring to.